Jeff Thomson from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. Thanks so much for joining us on the Fraud Leadership Series today.
Thanks for having me.
You guys do a lot of work across organizations in Canada, so maybe just to kick off the conversation today, what is the state of fraud in Canada right now in your eyes?
So yeah, we've documented an increase in fraud reporting for the last several years. In 2020 alone, we received over 100,000 reports and nearly $160 million on frauds connected to Canada. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So our mandate is pretty specific to mass marketing fraud and identity fraud. And we know that there's other frauds out there, payment card frauds, mortgage frauds, health frauds, insurance frauds. So the list of frauds go on. And we know the state of fraud is something quite severe, and the frauds are going up in Canada.
When we think about 2020, obviously it was a unique year for everybody, right? This is the first time we've all lived through a pandemic, and we know a crisis breeds an increase in fraud. Were you seeing that as well? Is that a trend you expect to continue?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as the world has gone through this pandemic, we've seen fraud rates go up. March is actually Fraud Prevention Month right now, and our theme is very much tied to the pandemic. So, the world, has gone into isolation and lockdown. So, people working from home, shopping online, doing online banking. In many cases, people have never done this stuff online before. So, the potential pool of victims has effectively increased, and people are more susceptible to fraud online today.
How easy, I know we were talking about the number of law enforcement agencies in Canada, and obviously, fraud is something everybody wants to stop. How easy is it to do that in Canada with having so many different agencies looking at it at once?
Jurisdictional issues, affect law enforcement in any country. Certainly in Canada, with the depth of Canada, I guess, or the breadth of Canada. From the East Coast to the West Coast, and over 160 different law enforcement agencies. There's challenges nationally to coordinating and investigating fraud, but more so in an international perspective. Most frauds today are international in scope, with fraud operators operating in one country, targeting victims in another country, and money going to a third country. And that's really a simplistic view. So it's very much serious and organized crime behind fraud today. And there's certainly challenges in investigation when you think about the jurisdictions and the international scope of fraud.
Yeah, and being able to share that data in a way that's useful, I know can definitely be a challenge. So, in this time, obviously technology is changing, the whole world is changing around us. What is maybe some advice you give a consumer at this point to avoid being a victim of fraud?
Our slogan this year for Fraud Prevention Month, and it was last year, is recognize, reject, report. So we know a lot of the frauds today are designed to play on emotions. Romance scams, love, prize scams, elations, extortion scams, coercion, and fear. So recognize, reject, report is all about getting people to recognize that the fraudsters are using every means at their disposal: internet, telephone, internet, social media, text messaging, emails, to try and target you with their frauds. Reject's really about getting people to slow down and not react to the fraudulent solicitations, to really do their due diligence, confirm everything, talk to family members and friends, and just don't react, right? Avoid that urgent, high pressure tactics, and don't be afraid to say no. And then the last piece, reporting, is really about getting people to report fraud to their local police and report it to the anti-fraud center. People aren't reporting. We don't know what's happening. We can't warn other people. And the information they have may be a missing piece of the puzzle. It might help connect other cases together. So reporting is really a key piece for us as well.
I like the point you made too about, just kind of slow down and think about it, right? And I was really proud. I'm not going to say who, but one of my family members texted me last week and she said, I got this message about a virus on my phone and it wanted me to click this link. Should I do it? And I was like, no, stop, don't do it. But I was really proud, at least kind of reach out first and check
Yeah.
to see if she should do it.
And that's really what we want to encourage people to do. So I mean, even with reporting that we get here, 160 million in losses last year, we conservatively say that's 5% of what's out there, and that's due to a number of reasons, but a big part of it is the stigma associated to fraud, the fear, the shame, the embarrassment.
Right.
A lot of people don't think it could happen to them, so it's really about breaking down these stigmas and really getting people to talk about it. And fraud prevention study is really about a shared responsibility. Everybody has a role to play. So we're really trying to engage the public, private sector partners, and other partners to spread that messaging.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we appreciate all you're doing in your group to help prevent fraud and get the messaging out there, and especially for the consumer. So thanks so much, and thanks for spending the time to chat with us today.
Thanks for having me.